That was Ted Cruz just moments ago. To discuss that and a whole lot more, national political reporter for Real Clear Politics, Rebecca Berg, good enough to join us from our Washington bureau. Good morning to you, Rebecca. Again, we just heard Senator Cruz speaking to reporters a short time ago, and he said essentially, no matter the results tomorrow, he is staying in this to the very end. He said just yesterday, though, seemed to suggest that it's coming down now to the great voters of Indiana. So if the polling, if what happens that the polls suggest, what is Cruz's path here?
Well, frankly, he might not have much of a path at all if he loses in Indiana tomorrow, and especially if he loses by as much as the polling has suggested. So you look at the NBC News poll from over the weekend. If Ted Cruz indeed loses by that wide margin to Donald Trump will likely sweep the delegates in Indiana, and then he would only need to win roughly 40% of the delegates remaining for the rest of this race, which is far less than he has been winning by to this point, and his campaign appears only to be growing stronger. So it becomes very tough for Ted Cruz and by extension these anti-Trump forces. Indiana and California were really the two remaining wildcard states that they needed to win in. They needed to make a stand against Donald Trump, and if they can't close the deal in Indiana, they would have to win the rest of the map by much more than they have been, by much more than anyone expects. So this is really a pivotal state tomorrow.
Just weeks ago, Ted Cruz had said that a contested convention was the great hope of the GOP establishment. Obviously now it is also the great hope for Ted Cruz. We're also seeing now the field operations of Donald Trump, now led by Paul Manafort, having real impact in states like Massachusetts and Arkansas and Delaware. So if we see, again, what happens here, what argument can Ted Cruz make that things will all be different in Cleveland in July?
Well, Ted Cruz's operation on the ground trying to sway some of these delegates to his cause, delegates that are going to be elected to the convention and then vote at the convention if it goes to a second or third ballot. He's actually been very effective at making sure that his allies are selected to be delegates, but frankly, we're in a situation staring down the barrel of Indiana tomorrow where all of this might actually be moot. I mean, we've been talking about the possibility of a contested convention now for months. It's been this very exciting prospect for political journalists like myself, but we're now in a position where if Donald Trump wins with the margin we're seeing tomorrow in Indiana, we might not have a contested convention at all, and all of this work Ted Cruz and some of the other campaigns have done to try to win these delegates to their cause, it might be for nothing. And
even as support begins to coalesce behind Donald Trump, he continues to hammer away at the party, calling the system rigged, calling the system crooked. And then yesterday on Face the Nation, Senator Lindsey Graham advised Cruz, whom he has provided a lukewarm endorsement, to stay in this race, saying the party, and I quote, is in the midst of a civil war. What do you make of the characterization?
It's not a bad characterization, actually. This is a very tumultuous period for the Republican Party, to say the least. You have a frontrunner for the nomination in Donald Trump, and now perhaps the likely nominee for the Republican nomination, who goes against many of the Republican Party's core policy stances. If you look at areas like trade is a major example I would point to, where Donald Trump has gone against the party orthodoxy and done so very loudly and very publicly, and succeeded while doing so. You have someone like Donald Trump leading the party, about to become the party's standard bearer, perhaps, who really is objectionable to many of the party's leaders. And so I think moving forward, it's going to be a lot of soul searching for the Republican Party to figure out what happens to enable Donald Trump to win this nomination potentially. And a civil war is maybe exactly what we're going to see moving forward. And I would actually point out that this isn't just about, you know, Ted Cruz and the conservative wing and Donald Trump and his outsider persona. I would also point to John Kasich's wing, the more moderate wing of the Republican Party. And so it's actually a very complex split you have within the party, which really makes this difficult to solve and put the party back together moving forward.